First contact, an unexpected encounter. The vast expanse of space stretched endlessly before Captain Sarah Chen as she gazed out the viewport of the U.S. horizon. The experimental deep space vessel represented humanity's most ambitious attempt yet to reach beyond the confines of their solar system. After years of preparation and months of travel, they were about to make history. "Captain, we're picking up an anomalous reading," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out from his station. "It doesn't match any known celestial body." Sarah's heart raced. This was it, the moment they'd all been waiting for. "On screen," she commanded, her voice steady despite her excitement. The main display flickered to life, revealing a sleek, silvery object that definitely wasn't natural. Its smooth surface reflected the starlight, creating an almost ethereal glow. It was unmistakably a spacecraft, but unlike anything humans had ever constructed. "My God," Sarah whispered. "It's them. It's really them." The bridge fell silent as the reality of the situation sank in. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. "Captain," Rodriguez spoke up again, his voice trembling slightly. "They're hailing us." Sarah took a deep breath, straightening her uniform. "Open a channel." The screen changed, and for the first time in human history, an alien face appeared before them. The creature was humanoid, with large, almond-shaped eyes that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. Its skin was a pale lavender, and instead of hair, a series of delicate tendrils framed its face. "Greetings, beings of Earth," the alien spoke, its voice melodious and strangely soothing. "I am Ambassador Zara of the Galactic Confederation. We have been observing your world for some time, and we are pleased to finally make contact." Sarah stepped forward, her training kicking in despite the surreal nature of the situation. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earth Space Fleet. On behalf of humanity, we welcome you and extend our hand in friendship." Zara's expression changed, her large eyes widening even further. "Fascinating," she murmured. "Your size, it's unbelievable." Confusion rippled through the bridge crew. Sarah glanced at her first officer, Commander Jack Harper, who shrugged imperceptibly. "I'm sorry," Sarah said, turning back to the screen. "I don't understand. What do you mean by our size?" Zara seemed to collect herself, her tendrils rippling slightly. "Forgive me, Captain. It's just, in all our travels, we've never encountered a sentient species of your magnitude. Most intelligent life forms we've encountered are much smaller." As if to illustrate her point, Zara moved back from the camera, revealing more of her ship's interior. Sarah gasped as she realized the true scale of things. The alien vessel, which they had assumed to be roughly the size of the horizon, was in fact far smaller. Zara herself was no taller than a human child's doll. "This is unexpected," Sarah managed, her mind reeling from the implications. "Perhaps we should arrange a face-to-face meeting to discuss this further." Zara nodded enthusiastically. "Yes, that would be most enlightening. However, I must warn you, our life support systems may not be adequate for beings of your size. Perhaps it would be best if we came aboard your vessel." Sarah agreed, and within the hour, a small shuttle from the alien ship was docking with the horizon. The crew gathered in the hangar bay, a mixture of excitement and apprehension on their faces. As the airlock cycled open, Sarah held her breath. A moment later, Zara emerged, followed by two other aliens. They were indeed tiny, barely reaching Sarah's knees. "Welcome aboard the Horizon," Sarah said, kneeling down to be closer to eye level with their guests. "We're honored to have you here." Zara looked up at her, all evident in her expression. "The honor is ours, Captain. Your species, you're like giants to us. It's incredible." Over the next few hours, the humans and aliens engaged in a fascinating exchange of information. The Galactic Confederation, it turned out, was a loose alliance of various spacefaring races, most of whom were similar in size to Zara's people. They had been observing Earth for centuries, watching humanity's progress with great interest. "We've been debating for decades whether to make contact," Zara explained as they sat in the ship's conference room. The aliens were perched on specially prepared platforms to bring them up to table height. Your technological advancement has been rapid, but we were concerned about the potential for conflict given the physical disparities between our peoples. Commander Harper leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. But surely, with your advanced technology, size wouldn't be that much of a factor in any potential conflict. Zara's tendrils rippled in what Sarah was beginning to recognize as a sign of discomfort. You would think so, wouldn't you? But the truth is, while we have made great strides in many areas, the laws of physics still apply. The energy requirements for propulsion and weapons systems scale up dramatically with size. What you might consider a small personal weapon would be a devastating cannon to us. Sarah nodded thoughtfully. I can see how that would be concerning. But I assure you, Ambassador, we have no hostile intentions. We're explorers, driven by curiosity and a desire to learn. That much is clear, Zara said, her eyes twinkling. Your very presence here, so far from your home, speaks volumes about your species' determination and ingenuity. It's one of the reasons we decided to initiate contact. As the conversation continued, it became clear that both sides had much to offer each other. The Confederation had centuries of experience in interstellar travel and diplomacy, while humanity's unique perspective as a large species offered new possibilities in engineering and problem-solving. There's something else, Zara said, her tone becoming more serious. One of the reasons we've been observing your planet so closely is that we believe you may be able to help us with a grave threat facing the Confederation. Sarah leaned in, intrigued. What kind of threat? Zara's tendrils writhed anxiously. There's another spacefaring race, one not part of the Confederation. They're aggressive, expansionist. They've been encroaching on our territory for years, and we've struggled to hold them back. They're larger than us, though not as large as you, and they possess formidable technology. You want our help in defending against them? Sarah asked, her mind already racing with the implications. Zara nodded. We believe that an alliance with humanity could tip the balance in our favor. Your size, combined with your resourcefulness and our technology, could be the key to securing peace in this sector of the galaxy. Sarah exchanged glances with her senior staff. This was far beyond their mission parameters, but the potential benefits and risks were enormous. This is obviously something we'd need to discuss with our superiors back on Earth, Sarah said carefully. But speaking personally, I believe this could be the beginning of a mutually beneficial relationship. Zara's eyes lit up. We hoped you would say that, Captain. We're prepared to offer humanity full membership in the Galactic Confederation, with all the benefits that entails, including access to our advanced technology and the accumulated knowledge of a dozen spacefaring civilizations. The implications were staggering. In a single day, humanity had not only made first contact with alien life, but was being offered a seat at the table of a galactic civilization. As the meeting concluded and preparations were made to send a message back to Earth, Sarah found herself standing once again at the viewport, gazing out at the stars. The universe suddenly seemed both vastly larger and significantly smaller than it had just hours ago. Commander Harper joined her, his expression thoughtful. Quite a day, Captain. Sarah nodded, a smile playing at the corners of her mouth. That's an understatement, Jack. We came out here hoping to push the boundaries of human exploration. Instead, we've been handed the keys to the galaxy. And all because we're big, Harper chuckled. Who would have thought our size would be our greatest asset out here? It's more than that, Sarah mused. Size alone isn't enough. It's our adaptability, our drive to explore and understand. That's what impressed them. Harper nodded in agreement. So, what do you think Earth will say to all this? Sarah turned to face him, determination glinting in her eyes. I think they'll say yes, because that's what we do, isn't it? We push forward, we take risks, we reach for the stars. And now we have a chance to really grab them. As if in response to her words, the alien ship outside the viewport glimmered, a silent reminder of the new frontier that had just opened up before them. Humanity's next great adventure was about to begin, and Sarah Chen and her crew were standing at the threshold of history. The Horizon's communication officer's voice came over the intercom, breaking the moment. "Captain, we're ready to transmit to Earth. The message is prepared and awaiting your final approval." Sarah straightened, squaring her shoulders. "On my way," she replied, casting one last look at the stars before heading to the bridge. Whatever came next, one thing was certain: the universe would never be the same again. Cultural clash, the gargantuan diplomats. The US horizon hung in space like a gleaming beacon of human ingenuity, dwarfing the delicate alien vessel beside it. Inside, Captain Sarah Chen stood before a hastily assembled holographic projector, facing the tiny figures of the Galactic Confederation's Emergency Council. "Esteemed members of the Council," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the surreal nature of the situation. "On behalf of humanity, I thank you for this opportunity to address you." The aliens, each no taller than a coffee mug, stared up at her in a mixture of awe and trepidation. Their varied forms, from insectoid to amorphous blob, highlighted the incredible diversity of life in the universe. Captain Chen, a crystalline being, chimed, its voice tinkling like wind chimes. "While we appreciate your enthusiasm, we must express our concerns about human involvement in Confederation affairs." Sarah nodded, having anticipated this reaction. "I understand your reservations. Our size difference is significant, but I assure you, it's our adaptability and problem-solving skills that truly set us apart." As if on cue, a klaxon blared through the ship. Red warning lights bathed the conference room in an eerie glow. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice crackled over the comm, "we've detected a massive energy surge from a nearby star. It's going supernova." The Alien Council erupted in panic. Their homeworlds, scattered across this sector, were all at risk. Sarah's mind raced. This was their chance to prove humanity's worth. "Council members, please remain calm. We have technology that might help. Lieutenant, prepare the graviton deflector." The graviton deflector was an experimental device designed to manipulate gravity fields on a massive scale. It had never been tested in real-world conditions, but desperate times called for desperate measures. "Counselors," Sarah addressed the frightened aliens, "we're going to attempt to contain the supernova using our gravity manipulation technology. It's risky, but it's our best shot at saving your worlds." The crystalline being's facets shimmered anxiously. "But Captain, the energy required for such an endeavor, it's beyond anything our civilizations can produce." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. "That's where our size comes in handy. Our fusion reactors can generate power on a scale you've never seen before." As the Horizon maneuvered into position, Sarah coordinated with her crew and the Alien Council. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. The ship's engines strained as they poured energy into the graviton deflector. Outside, space itself seemed to warp and bend as the device activated. The star's violent eruption was caught in a massive gravity well, its destructive force contained and redirected. When the dust settled, Sarah stood before the Alien Council once more. This time, their tiny faces were filled with undisguised admiration. "Captain Chen," the crystalline being spoke, its voice filled with emotion, "you've saved billions of lives today. We were wrong to doubt you. Humanity's strength, both physical and mental, is truly awe-inspiring." Sarah bowed her head humbly. "We're just glad we could help. This is what we do: face the unknown, solve problems, and lend a hand, or in our case, a very large hand." The council chambers erupted in tinkling laughter, the tension of the past hours dissolving into a newfound camaraderie. As the meeting concluded, Sarah found herself in a private conversation with Zara, the ambassador who had first contacted them. "You've certainly made an impression, Captain," Sarah said, her tendrils waving in what Sarah now recognized as amusement. "But I must ask, how do you think your people will adapt to being, Well, the big ones in the room. Sarah considered the question carefully. It will be an adjustment, certainly, but humans have a long history of learning to be gentle with smaller, more delicate things. From caring for infants to preserving delicate archaeological artifacts, we understand the need for a careful touch. Zara nodded thoughtfully. And what of the resources you'll need? Your energy requirements alone are staggering compared to ours. That's true, Sarah acknowledged. But we're also incredibly efficient for our size, and we're always looking for ways to improve. I believe that by working together, we can find solutions that benefit everyone. As they talked, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the strange twists of fate that had brought them to this point. Humanity, long fascinated by the idea of alien life, had finally made contact. But instead of the towering technologically superior beings they had imagined, they found themselves cast in that very role. There's so much we can learn from each other, Sarah mused. Your civilizations have centuries of interstellar experience, and we offer a fresh perspective. Sometimes, the best solutions come from looking at old problems in new ways. Zora's eyes twinkled with curiosity. Speaking of new perspectives, Captain, there's something I've been wondering. How do humans manage to think so big? Your ideas, your dreams, they seem to match your physical size. Sarah chuckled. That's just who we are, Zora. We're dreamers, explorers. We look at the impossible and say, let's make it possible. It's driven us from our first steps out of Africa to our first steps on the moon, and now to our first steps into the galactic community. As their conversation drew to a close, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. The challenges ahead were immense, but so were the opportunities. Humanity was about to embark on its greatest adventure yet, and she was at the forefront. Captain, Zara said as they parted, I believe your arrival marks the beginning of a new era for the Confederation, the era of the Gargantuan diplomats. Sarah smiled at the title. Gargantuan diplomats. I like the sound of that. Here's to a future of big ideas and even bigger friendships. As she watched Zora's tiny form retreat, Sarah turned her gaze to the stars outside. The universe had just gotten a whole lot bigger, and humanity was ready to rise to the occasion. The age of the Gargantuan diplomats had begun, and with it, a new chapter in the story of the cosmos. Titans of terror, guardians of the galactic frontier. The massive silhouette of the U.S. horizon loomed over the tiny spaceport of Zeta Prime, casting a shadow that stretched for miles across the alien landscape. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport, her eyes scanning the horizon where countless miniature structures dotted the planet's surface like a city built for cosmic ants. Captain, the Zetan High Council is ready to receive us, Commander Jack Harper announced, his voice tinged with excitement and a hint of nervousness. Sarah nodded, squaring her shoulders. Let's make history, Commander. Again. As they disembarked, Sarah couldn't help but feel like a clumsy giant. Each step had to be carefully measured to avoid accidentally crushing the delicate infrastructure beneath their feet. The Zetan Welcoming Committee, barely reaching the humans' ankles, scurried about in a mixture of awe and trepidation. Welcome, Titans of Terror, the lead Zetan, Minister Xylith, called out. His voice was amplified by a device that looked like a thimble-sized megaphone. Your presence honors us, and your size, well, it astounds us. Sarah knelt down, bringing herself closer to eye level with the minister. The honor is ours, Minister Xylith. We come in peace and friendship, ready to learn from your ancient wisdom and offer our unique perspective in return. As they made their way to the council chambers, a journey that involved much ducking and squeezing through doorways not designed for human-sized beings, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the ingenuity of the Zetan architecture. Despite their small size, their buildings were marvels of engineering, with sweeping arches and impossibly thin spires that seemed to defy gravity. The council chamber itself was a sight to behold. A vast amphitheater, it could easily seat thousands of Zetans. For the human delegation, however, it felt like sitting in a dollhouse. Esteemed council, Sarah began, her voice booming even at a whisper. "We stand before you not just as representatives of Earth, but as guardians of a new galactic frontier. Our size may be imposing, but our hearts are open, and our intentions are pure." The council listened intently as Sarah outlined humanity's proposal for a new era of cooperation. She spoke of shared scientific endeavors, cultural exchanges, and mutual defense pacts. But it was when she touched on the subject of the mysterious aggressors threatening the Confederation that the atmosphere in the room changed. "We faced our own struggles on Earth," Sarah continued, her voice softening. "Wars, disasters, near-extinction events. But each time, we've emerged stronger, more united. We've learned that the greatest challenges can only be overcome when we stand together." A murmur rippled through the assembled Zetans. Minister Xylith stepped forward, his large eyes glistening with emotion. "Captain Chen, your words move us. But I must ask, how can beings of your magnitude truly understand the fears of those so much smaller? How can we trust that you won't simply crush us underfoot, whether by accident or design?" Sarah paused, considering her words carefully. This was the crux of the matter, the fear that had kept the Confederation from contacting Earth for so long. Her answer could shape the future of interstellar relations for generations to come. "Minister, esteemed council members," she began, her voice clear and steady, "on Earth, we have a saying. With great power comes great responsibility. Our size, our strength, these are not weapons to be wielded, but tools to be used wisely and carefully." She gestured to her crew, each standing tall and proud. "Look at us. We've traveled across the stars, mastered technologies beyond imagination, and yet here we stand, in awe of your achievements. We recognize the value of all life, no matter its size. In fact, it's often the smallest things that have the greatest impact." As if on cue, a low rumble shook the council chamber. Alarms blared, and panic spread through the Zetan ranks. "Seismic activity," a Zetan scientist cried out. "The planetary stabilizers are failing." Sarah's mind raced. The Zetans had mentioned their planet's unstable core, kept in check by ancient technology. If that technology failed— "Minister," Sarah said, her voice cutting through the chaos, "let us help. We have the strength and the technology to stabilize your planet's core." Xylith hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "We have no choice. Please, Titans of Terror, save our world." What followed was a frenzy of activity. The Horizon's crew, working in perfect sync with Zetan's scientists, deployed massive gravity anchors deep into the planet's crust. Sarah herself, clad in an experimental exosuit, descended into a magma chamber large enough to swallow a Zetan city. For hours, they battled against the very forces of nature, their human-scale technology proving to be the key to saving a world built for beings a fraction of their size. When it was over, Sarah emerged from the planet's depths, her exosuit scorched and battered, but victorious. As she stood before the Zetan Council once more, covered in ash and sweat, Sarah saw a change in their eyes. The fear was gone, replaced by something new: respect, admiration, and hope. "Captain Chen," Minister Xylith said, his voice choked with emotion, "you and your crew have saved not just our planet, but our entire civilization. We see now that your size is not a threat, but a blessing. You truly are the guardians of the galactic frontier." Sarah smiled, exhausted but elated. "This is just the beginning, Minister. Together, we can face any challenge the universe throws our way. Big or small, we're stronger united." As the council erupted in cheers, Sarah felt a sense of profound change. Humanity had proved itself not just as a powerful ally, but as a protector, a force for good in a vast and sometimes dangerous galaxy. The Titans of Terror had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same again. As Sarah looked out over the sea of tiny, grateful faces, she knew that this was more than just a diplomatic victory. It was the dawn of a new age, where beings of all sizes could work together to reach for the stars. The story of the gargantuan diplomats was just beginning, and Sarah Chen couldn't wait to see where it would lead next. Cosmic Colossi, the gentle giant's gambit. The star field outside the U.S. Horizon's viewport warped and twisted as the massive ship dropped out of hyperspace. Captain Sarah Chen's eyes widened as she took in the sight before her, a colossal space station, easily 100 times the size of her ship, dominating the view. "By all that's holy," Commander Harper whispered beside her. It's like a city in space." Sarah nodded, her mind racing. This was Nexus Prime, the heart of the Galactic Confederation's government and the site of the upcoming Intergalactic Summit. And for the first time in its long history, it was about to host beings larger than the rooms it contained. "Captain," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice tense. "We're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. They're asking how we intend to board the station." Sarah allowed herself a small smile. This was the moment they'd been preparing for. "Tell them to stand by, Lieutenant. It's time to unveil our little surprise." With a series of commands, Sarah activated the Horizon's newest addition, the quantum compression field. A shimmering blue aura enveloped the ship, and slowly, impossibly, the Horizon began to shrink. "Compression field stable, Captain," the science officer reported. "We're now roughly equivalent to Confederation standard size." As the now miniaturized Horizon approached the docking bay, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the ingenuity of her crew and the Earth scientists who had made this possible. The ability to temporarily alter their size had been a breakthrough, one that promised to revolutionize human-Confederation relations. The docking procedure went smoothly, and as Sarah led her crew onto Nexus Prime, she felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. They were making history with every step. The Grand Assembly Hall was a riot of color and sound as representatives from 1,000 worlds mingled and chatted. As the human delegation entered, a hush fell over the crowd. "Representatives of Earth," a melodious voice announced, "welcome to Nexus Prime. We are honored by your presence." The speaker was High Counselor Zix, a being composed entirely of shimmering energy. His form pulsed with excitement as he approached the humans. "High Counselor," Sarah replied, bowing slightly. "The honor is ours. We come seeking friendship and alliance." As the formalities concluded and the summit began in earnest, Sarah found herself embroiled in a whirlwind of diplomacy. The humans' ability to alter their size was a hot topic, with some seeing it as a miraculous solution to integration issues, while others viewed it with suspicion. "But how can we trust that you won't simply resize yourself and crush us all?" one particularly paranoid delegate demanded. Sarah was about to reply when alarms began blaring throughout the station. Panic spread through the assembly as a holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive fleet of ships approaching Nexus Prime. "It's the Void Krakens," someone shouted. "They found us." The Void Krakens, the mysterious aggressors that had been threatening the Confederation for years. Sarah's mind raced. This was the moment of truth. "High Counselor," she said, her voice cutting through the chaos. "We need to drop the compression field. Let us help." Zix hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Do it." With a shimmer of blue light, the human delegation returned to their true size. Gasps of awe and fear rippled through the crowd as Sarah and her crew now towered over the assembled aliens. "This station has weapons, yes?" Sarah asked, her voice booming in the cavernous hall. Zix nodded. "Yes, but they're not designed for operators of your scale." Sarah grinned. "They are now. Commander Harper, Lieutenant Rodriguez, with me. The rest of you, back to the Horizon. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." What followed was a battle unlike any the Confederation had ever seen. The Horizon, now restored to its true size, led the defense fleet. Meanwhile, Sarah and her officers manned Nexus Prime's weapon systems, their increased size allowing them to channel unprecedented power into the station's defenses. The Void Krakens, expecting an easy victory, found themselves outmatched by the combined might of Confederation technology and human ingenuity. Sarah's tactical acumen, honed by years of simulations and Earth's own conflicts, proved invaluable in outmaneuvering the enemy fleet. As the last of the Kraken ships retreated, cheers erupted throughout Nexus Prime. Sarah, still manning a weapon console that now seemed comically small in her giant hands, allowed herself a moment of relief. The aftermath of the battle saw a complete shift in the summit's atmosphere. Where there had been suspicion and fear, now there was gratitude and admiration. The humans' willingness to literally resize themselves to fit in, combined with their strength when it was needed most, had won over even the most skeptical delegates. Captain Chen, High Counselor Zix addressed her, his energy form pulsing with emotion. You and your people have saved not just Nexus Prime, but the entire Confederation. Your adaptability, your courage, they are unlike anything we've ever seen. Sarah smiled, kneeling down to be closer to eye level with the diminutive aliens. This is who we are, Counselor. We may be big, but we've learned to be gentle. We may be strong, but we choose to be kind. We call ourselves the Cosmic Colossi not because of our size, but because of the enormity of our dreams and the depth of our commitment to peace. The assembly hall erupted in applause. As Sarah looked out over the sea of tiny, grateful faces, she knew that this was more than just a military victory. It was the beginning of a new era of cooperation and understanding. My friends, she said, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, today marks the dawn of a new age. An age where beings of all sizes stand together against the darkness, where the strength of the large protects the wisdom of the small, where diversity is not just accepted, but celebrated. As she spoke, Sarah could see the future unfolding before her. Humans working alongside their tiny allies, lending their strength where needed, learning from the ancient wisdom of the Confederation. Gigantic human ships acting as mobile defense platforms for vulnerable worlds. Earth itself becoming a hub of interstellar culture and commerce. We are the Cosmic Colossi, Sarah concluded, her voice filled with passion and hope. And together, there is no challenge too great, no frontier too vast for us to explore. The galaxy awaits, my friends. Let's make it a better place for all of us. As the chamber filled with cheers and applause, Sarah knew that the true adventure was just beginning. The gentle giant's gambit had paid off, and humanity had found its place among the stars. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, big and small, united as one. Titan's twilight, the quantum quandary. The colossal form of the U.S. horizon hung in high orbit above Earth, its hull gleaming in the light of the rising sun. Inside the ship's expansive bridge, Captain Sarah Chen stood before a holographic display, her brow furrowed in concentration. The image before her showed a swirling mass of energy, pulsing and writhing like a living thing. The quantum nexus, she murmured, her voice tinged with awe and apprehension. Commander Harper stepped up beside her, his eyes fixed on the display. It's beautiful, he said softly, and terrifying. Sarah nodded grimly. The quantum nexus was both humanity's greatest discovery and its most pressing threat. A tear in the fabric of space-time, it offered unimaginable power and knowledge, but it was also growing, threatening to engulf entire star systems. Captain, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, his voice tense. We're receiving a priority transmission from the Galactic Confederation. The holographic display shifted, revealing the diminutive form of High Counselor Zix. Even through the flickering image, Sarah could see the worry etched on his energy-based features. Captain Chen, Zix began, his voice urgent. The quantum nexus has begun to destabilize. Our scientists estimate that if it's not contained within the next 48 hours, it will trigger a chain reaction that could unravel the very fabric of our galaxy. Sarah's mind raced. They had known this day might come, but facing it was another matter entirely. What do you need from us, Counselor? Zix's form pulsed with a mixture of hope and desperation. Your size, Captain. The energy required to manipulate the Nexus is beyond anything our technology can safely handle. But you Cosmic Colossi might just be able to channel enough power to seal the breach. Sarah exchanged a glance with Harper. They both knew what this meant. Unimaginable risk, not just to themselves, but to all of humanity. Yet the alternative was unthinkable. "We'll do it," Sarah said, her voice firm. "Transmit all the data you have. We'll rendezvous at the Nexus in 6 hours." As the transmission ended, Sarah turned to her crew. "This is it, people. The moment we've been training for. Humanity's greatest challenge, and our chance to save not just our allies, but the entire galaxy." The next few hours were a blur of activity. The Horizon's engines strained as they pushed the massive ship to its limits, hurtling through space towards the quantum nexus. Meanwhile, the crew prepared for the unimaginable task ahead. As they approached the nexus, Sarah gasped. The swirling vortex of energy was even more magnificent and terrifying in person. Dozens of tiny Confederation ships buzzed around it like insects, their weapons and sensors trained on the cosmic anomaly. "Confederation fleet is hailing us, Captain," Rodriguez reported. On screen, Sarah commanded. The viewscreen flickered to life, revealing a diverse array of alien faces. Some Sarah recognized, others were entirely new to her. All wore expressions of mingled hope and fear. Captain Chen, a reptilian being, spoke, its voice gravelly. "I am Admiral Zorn of the Confederation Defense Fleet. We've been awaiting your arrival with great anticipation." Sarah nodded respectfully. "We're here to help, Admiral. What's the situation?" As Zorn began to explain, alarms suddenly blared throughout the ship. The quantum nexus pulsed violently, sending out a shockwave that rocked even the massive Horizon. "It's destabilizing faster than we predicted," Zorn cried out. "We're out of time." Sarah's training kicked in, pushing aside fear and doubt. "All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. We're going in." What followed was a battle unlike any in human history. The Horizon plunged into the maelstrom of the quantum nexus, its hull creaking under forces that defied comprehension. Sarah and her crew worked frantically, channeling unprecedented amounts of energy through the ship's systems in an attempt to stabilize the cosmic tear. Outside, the Confederation fleet watched in awe as the human vessel, dwarfing their largest ships, wrestled with the very fabric of spacetime. Arcs of quantum energy lashed out, each powerful enough to vaporize a planet, yet the Horizon stood firm. Inside the ship, Sarah gritted her teeth as she manually adjusted the quantum stabilizers. Sweat poured down her face as she pushed her body and mind to their limits. Besides her, Harper and Rodriguez worked with equal intensity, their movements perfectly synchronized. "It's working," Harper shouted over the din of straining machinery. "The Nexus is starting to contract." But their victory was short-lived. Just as it seemed they might succeed, a massive surge of energy tore through the ship's systems. Consoles exploded in showers of sparks, and the lights flickered ominously. "We're losing containment," Rodriguez yelled. "The quantum field is collapsing." Sarah's mind raced. They were so close, but their technology just wasn't enough. Then, in a moment of clarity, she understood what needed to be done. "All hands, abandon ship," she commanded. "Harper, Rodriguez, with me. We're going to channel the energy through ourselves." Her officers looked at her in shock, but nodded grimly. They understood the stakes. As the rest of the crew evacuated in escape pods, Sarah and her two most trusted officers made their way to the heart of the ship. There, surrounded by crackling energy and failing systems, they linked hands. "For Earth," Sarah said softly. "For the galaxy." They closed their eyes and opened themselves to the quantum energies surging around them. Pain unlike anything they had ever experienced tore through their bodies, but they held firm. In that moment, they were more than just humans. They were conduits for the very forces that shaped the universe. Outside, the Confederation fleet watched in awe as the Horizon began to glow with an otherworldly light. The quantum nexus pulsed and writhed, fighting against the forces trying to contain it. For a moment that seemed to stretch into eternity, the fate of the galaxy hung in the balance. Then, with a final blinding flash of light, the nexus collapsed in on itself, the cosmic tear sealed, leaving behind nothing but empty space and a profound silence. As the light faded, the Confederation ships moved in cautiously. Where the mighty horizon had once stood, there was now nothing. Or so it seemed at first. "Admiral," one of Zorn's officers cried out, "we're detecting life signs. But they're different, changed." As the stunned Confederation forces watched, 3 beings of pure energy emerged from the void where the Nexus had been. They were humanoid in shape, but composed of swirling quantum particles, their forms pulsing with unimaginable power. "By the stars," Zorn whispered, "is it them?" The largest of the energy beings moved forward, its voice resonating not through sound, but directly into the minds of all who watched. "We are what was once Sarah Chen, Jack Harper, and Elena Rodriguez," it said. "We have transcended our physical forms, become one with the quantum fabric of the universe itself." Awe and fear rippled through the Confederation fleet. These beings, these former humans, now wielded power beyond imagination. "Do not be afraid," the Sarah entity continued. "We remain who we were, protectors, explorers, friends. But now we can do so much more." As the galaxy watched in wonder, the 3 quantum beings began to reshape reality around them. Dead worlds sprang to life, war-torn civilizations found peace, and the mysteries of the cosmos unfolded before them. The cosmic colossi had become truly cosmic, their sacrifice ushering in a new age of exploration, understanding, and growth for all sentient beings. As news of the event spread across the galaxy, a new legend was born. The tale of the humans who became gods, not through conquest or subjugation, but through self-sacrifice and an unyielding commitment to life itself. The age of the quantum titans had begun, and the universe would never be the same again.